Good evening. My name is the Kaiju no Kami. I'd like to tell you about my forthcoming review. It is about the birds and their age-long relationship with man. Together they must join forces in order to fight an evil group of beings from another dimension. It will shock you. It will horrify you. You will be in suspense and terror, but you will be entertained. Now, if you excuse me, I have some chicken dinner I need to go eat. Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. Chojin Sentai Jetman! Welcome everyone. As already established, I am the Kaiju no Kami, and today I'm going to be reviewing a very special Sentai, 1991's Chojin Sentai Jetman. Hirohisa Soda had been the lead writer of every Super Sentai series for 9 years straight, so he felt it was time for him to step away from the franchise to work on other projects while allowing new blood to take the reins away from him. Thus, enter a man named Toshiki Inoue, who had worked on several episodes since Flashman. Inoue helmed the next planned Sentai show, which was initially called Superman Sentai Birdman. This newest iteration, finalized as Chojin Sentai Jetman, harkened back to an anime Soda had started his career on, Gatchaman, and even advertised it as such when they were in the hiring process. Additionally, Toei hired Keita Amemiya to be the show's lead director. Keita Amemiya. Where have I heard that name before? It sounds familiar, but I just can't put my finger on it. Oh well, must not be important. Finally, due to a continuous ratings decline with each series before, Toei had decided that Jetman would be the final Sentai show. As we all know, that never happened, as the ratings and profits for Jetman were way too high that there was no way Toei wanted to end the franchise now. As such, Sentai has continued even to this day, which brings one to ask, is Jetman really that good of a series? Maybe. The heroes. Being that Jetman was meant to be a live-action Gatchaman, they really advanced the human plot and drama among the Ranger cast, something that the series in the 80s were sorely lacking. The most notable of these is Guy Yuki, played by Toshihide Wakamatsu. I've seen some say they don't understand the big deal about Guy when they watch the show, but you have to look at it from a historical standpoint. Guy was the first Sentai hero who was a loner. He didn't want to do anything big, as he was perfectly happy drinking, smoking, hanging out with women, and playing his saxophone. As such, he was always at odds with the rest of his team. Usually. The biggest issue I have with Guy is that some of the other writers of the show didn't understand this character, and as such, he would be written as if he was perfectly happy being part of the team. Now this changes during the last quarter of the show, as the group finally comes together to work as a team, but before that, Guy's personality could be all over the place if Inoue was not the one writing the episode. Who's that guy? Where's my guy? Nevertheless, Guy is a standout guy because he brought a new dynamic to Sentai never seen before. And he would pretty much set the standard archetype for the Black Ranger for all the modern shows. From there we have Kotaro Tanaka's take on our team leader Ryu Tendo. When the series begins, Ryu and his girlfriend Rie work for a government agency that just created super suits using a specialized energy known as birdonic waves to battle any foreign invaders who try to take over the Earth. Unfortunately, this exact event occurs just after Ryu has gotten his suit, which causes the death of everyone except for Ryu and his commanding officer Aya Odagiri. As such, Ryu is troubled throughout the show at the apparent loss of his girlfriend, which also motivates him to defend the Earth to the best of his abilities. He is a soldier and tends to forget everyone else on the team is not, as they were just civilians who ended up being hit by the birdonic waves that were spread across Japan after their space base was decimated. It also doesn't help early on when his grandma comes to town trying to pair him up with a woman to marry. Next up is Karare Rokumiken. While actress Rika Kishida is not the greatest, she does do a good job of acting as the spoiled rich girl who was brought up in a whole different world from the rest of the cast. The only problem is that her spoiled nature will often get her team in trouble, as she will occasionally choose the easy road over wanting to be Earth's defender.
それよりも私だけ飛行訓練を免除していただくわけにはいきませんでしょうか。私、嫌なものは嫌なんですの。
Gratefully, she has the most kick-ass butler in the world to set her straight.
ジェントルマンをやめようとやめまいと、それはそなたの人生。
However, this brings up another issue, as there are a couple of times when she really isn't needed. There are 2 or 3 episodes where she doesn't even fight or transform, even during the mech battle, making one wonder why she is even needed in the first place. For example, the first time they start to pilot their mech, she complains about it being too hard and is told all 5 of them are needed for it to happen. Then 2 episodes later... Wait, what? Then what's her point? She can't even play the violin right. This guy's got it. Tamehiso Noruse portrays our ranger farmer Raita Oishi. Raita is one of my favorite Yellow Rangers of all time, as he has a great personality and brings in a more naturalistic viewpoint to the team. We get to learn a lot about this tomato lover, such as that he hated tomatoes as a child, which leads to one hilarious episode where a monster ends up being a tomato creature he dreamed up as a child to fuel his nightmares.
Attack of the killer tomatoes! Attack of the killer tomatoes! They'll beat you, bash you, squish you, mash you, chew you up for brunch!
Well, you think that's something you can do? Well, I got some friends who'd like to meet you. Attack now!
Oh, brother.
I also have a funny story about this character. There's an actor-comedian named Tadao Tomamatsu I got to meet at Anime Detour 2015. He told me a story that when he was on set at Toei while they were filming an episode of the show, which, watching the show, is episode 28, the Rangers were fighting the grunts at a baseball stadium. Yellow Owl's suit actor was gone for one reason or another, so they asked him to wear the suit for the baseball scene because he was almost the same size as Yellow Owl's suit actor. And he was in it during the scene when Yellow Owl gets hit with the baseball. Nothing major, but I did find it hilarious enough that I did want to bring it up. It is also worth noting that Naruse plays the second cameo in Die Ranger after the initial actor left. Finally, we have my favorite ranger on the team, Akko, played by Sayuri Uchida. Akko is a high school student who finds herself suddenly athletic before learning of the birdonic waves hitting her and joins the team initially to make money.
1500円ぐらいは欲しいよな。とりあえず小切手で。はい、どうも。1000万？
It isn't until she realizes the threat is real that she decides to do it because it is the right thing to do and spends her time balancing both her high school life and being a hero. I really get an early Mega Ranger vibe out of her as they do a great job between the two, at least during the first half of the show. Her high school life seems to disappear during the last quarter, making one wonder if she is on break or something. We learn about her friendship with a fellow student and how being Blue Swallow has put a strain on it as she doesn't know how to explain the situation, especially after a promise the duo made.
何かあったの？今朝ね、フォーナが死んじゃったの。フォーナが？フォーナ
Huh? A flashback within a flashback? Akko also loves diamonds.
Diamonds are forever. They are all I need to please me. They can stimulate and tease me.
Ooh, damn! That was not cool. Overall, I really like Akko because of her upbeat personality, and she does bring her A game to the team despite being the most inexperienced of them all. One of the biggest aspects that puts Jetman above many other Sentai shows besides each ranger being fully developed is a major love plotline that is prominent throughout the show, for good or bad.
私、あなたが私のことをどう思おうと、私はやっぱりあなたが好きです。
Inoue loves his love triangles, and Jetman is most notable for it. Kaori loves Ryu. Ryu wants nothing to do with Kaori because of Rie, and Guy loves Kaori, but she wants nothing to do with Guy because she wants Ryu. It's very complex and will often be the schism that keeps Guy away from liking Ryu. It isn't until an event occurs later on in the show that Guy realizes his true feelings.
気持ちがわからないんだこの石頭俺はこっちのせいだ
Jetman, bringing the wet dreams of yaoi lovers to reality since 1991. Anyway, it doesn't end there. For some reason, Raita develops feelings for Kaori despite the fact that we meet his childhood crush early on in the show, and it is shown that they both love each other. As such, having Raita fall in love with Kaori makes no sense. What's even worse is that I do not understand why anyone would fall in love with this woman because she has such a rotten personality with looks that match. Regardless, it does make for an interesting dynamic as it adds something new to Sentai that had never been done before. It really does help elevate it to make this show stand out among its brethren.
やっぱり香りと付き合うんだから一流の方よね。エリート商社マンとか弁護士さんとか。
I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker. I get my lovin' on the run.
Of course, Inoue loved this plot so much, he did it again in Kamen Rider 5. Moving on to their gear and suits, I really like them. The suits look pretty cool, and I love the shade of blue used for Blue Swallow, and it is much lighter than the previous Blue Rangers. Akko is also the last female Blue Ranger until Hurricaneger, while this is the first 5-Ranger team show to not have a Pink Ranger, as Kaori is white. Adding to that, they have wings that allow them to fly. It's just a shame that Ryu wasn't a Silver Ranger, because then they could have called him Silver Hawk. They have standard guns and swords, but a little ways into the show they acquired their cannon, which transforms out of Red Hawk's buggy. They also get some upgraded guns later on. As I mentioned a bit ago, their commander is Aya Odagiri, played by Mikiko Miki. She's kind of a cool character who thankfully has a vocabulary that goes beyond ko. It's also quite apparent that you should never piss her off, as you might regret it if you do.
怠けさせてたまるもんですか。
やめてくださいよ長官ムキにならないで
God damn, woman!
ガルダクロー
She didn't even need the other 4 Rangers to pilot that mech. She is one badass.
そう女の怒りは怖いのよ。
Lastly, as with every Sentai show, there are some guest stars. Both Hideki Fujiwara and Yuta Mochizuki from Zyuranger make an appearance. Fujiwara plays a boy from another dimension who is also named Dan. Mochizuki plays the leader of the Neo Jetman, a team that an official decides is going to replace the current team due to their inexperience and inability to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. Even the girl I've constantly talked about from Kamen Rider Black, Wind Spectre, and O-Ranger shows up for an episode. Oh, and the Neo Jetman's commander is played by Hideaki Tezuka, who voices the 4th Raikage in Naruto. The villains. The villains of the show are an interdimensional race of conquerors known as Vyram. What makes them interesting is that even they question the morals of humans at times. Think about that. Villains who are there to conquer the world are questioning the morals of those they are trying to conquer, like this pollution scene.
何が科学の発展だ。
奴らには自分で自分の首を絞めているのがわからないのか。
知っててやってるから。人間ってやつは恐ろしいのさ。
貴様たち人類、地球に住む資格はない。
I'm speechless. Adding to their uniqueness, they don't have any actual boss. It's just 4 commanders who decide the one that gets to be in charge is the first one to defeat Jetman. As such, they are all in competition with each other, making for some really unique scenarios where one commander may sabotage another's plan to ensure that he or she does not take command. It is a pretty interesting setup and just continues to show how this series stepped out of the Sentai box, something that would become a staple of the 90s. We have the armored Smurf Radiguet, who receives quite a lot of development over the course of the series as he is constantly striving to be the most powerful of the group and learns from his mistakes. He even has a human form we occasionally see. There is Maria, who is revealed very early on in the show to be Rie, which drives Ryu nuts as he is constantly trying to restore her memories. While her plans seem to be based on vanity, she does have some really great lines. Like this one, where she sends a monster out to steal people's voices.
おまけに一時も休まぬほどの勢いで喋り続けるほどのエネルギーを持っている。
女のおしゃべりってくだらないことばっかりさ。
だから私はその無意味なエネルギーを有効に使わせてもらうわ。
Next up on the list is my personal favorite, a kick-ass robot named Gray. He's great!
愚か者ほど醜いものはない。
Shut up, you interdimensional smurf. Like Guy, he loves drinking, smoking, and music, making him the perfect rival for the character. Of course, it is not all he has in common with the Rangers, as he finds himself attracted to Maria, which also gives him some competition with Ryu. Meaning this show has 2 love triangles going on. Kari, Ryu, and Guy, Maria, Ryu, and Gray. Ooh, my head is spinning. Not to mention Gray can kick your ass one-handed. I should also bring up that Gray is both played and voiced by Hideaki Kusaka, who has done Tatopod in Zyuranger and Gosh in Live Man.
一度勝負だ。望むところだぜ。貴様が勝てば4人は返す。だが私が勝てばその回路は返してもらう。
Finally, we have a child named Tron. He ends up having the most character growth, literally, obtaining an adult form that is played by the stupendous Yutaka Hirase, deemed Tranza.
身の程を知るがいい。
Both aspects of this character work so well because Tron has a lot of childish plots and is mocked for being a kid, while Tranza is brutal and comes up with more frightening plans that nearly take the Jetman out on more than one occasion. In fact, had he not had one of his cohorts interfering with his plans, he would have succeeded. One of Tron's plots revolves around a monster that can make people act to the clothes it puts on them. Why bring this plot up? Well, look. It's ninjas and pirates fighting the Rangers. This show is so awesome. The monsters of the week are by far the show's weakest aspects. A little critter known as a dimensional bug attaches itself to an inanimate object, taking on the form of a creature known as a dimensional beast. During the second half of the show, animal DNA is included with the bug, deeming them biodimensional beasts.
資源虫が有する無数の生物遺伝子からアルマジロの特性を引き出し、さらにライトと同化させ、バイオ次元獣ライトアルマジロの誕生だ。
I have mixed feelings on them as a lot of the monsters blow and sometimes they look like crap. While, okay, he might be a pile of garbage, at least he isn't scary, Snuggles. Oh god!
What's with all that dust?
The worst monster being one made of soba noodles. Soba noodles. I wish I was kidding. One of the things I love about Monsters of the Week in these shows are when they have diverse identities. Sadly though, several of the beasts are just mindless creatures, so they have paper-thin personalities. No, I'm not gonna stop with the puns, especially because some of your monsters are sexist. There's also a cockroach that does some inappropriate things for a kid's show. There are a couple I like, such as House Dimension, Armor Snake, Hammer Chameleon,
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
and Sniper Cat.
New from Mattel.
Oh, and Torpedo Piranha is the bomb. Worth it. Another intriguing aspect is that there is a three-parter that brings in some ancient demons who ruled humanity at one point in time. They added a nice change of pace even if it was a brief one. Although, so they use these tentacles that kind of like drain the blood from people to bring them back. They kidnap Kari. Wouldn't it have made more sense because they used tentacles to have kidnapped Akko? The grunts of Irem are known as Grinom soldiers. They look like black beings with yellow clouds on their faces. I don't know how to really describe them. Pretty much your standard grunts, but I do like this moment.
どんなに戦っても誰一人褒めてくれない。いいか、今日こそは俺様とお前たちの恨みのパワーでジェットマンを倒すのだ。
The Mecha. Jetman is an interesting period for mech battles, as this is the time when Toei started to transition from the standard generic battles of the 80s into more refined fights that meant something in the 90s. The main mech is Jet Icarus, which is formed by 5 individual machines that resemble planes with bird-like faces. He's not as boxy as the mechs in the past, although you can still see some of the 80s designs in it. Alternatively, we have Jet Garuda, which looks awesome thanks to its bird head, talon-like hands, and rounded features. He looks vastly evolutionary compared to what came beforehand. I should also mention that Jet Garuda is the first mech in this series to be based off a mythological creature. I love it. The duo combines to form Great Icarus, whose design I also admire. There's a third auxiliary mech named Tetra Boy.
We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along.
His blue color scheme is pretty striking and he transforms into a gun for additional arsenal. Unlike the shows that came before Jetman, I do not find myself bored during the mech battles. The battles have some well choreographed fights. It also helps that not every episode features them. We don't even see Jet Icarus combined until the 6th episode. There are also a few dimensional beasts that are made mech size right from the get-go, such as this Macross-esque one, House Dimension, and a few of Vyram's own mechs. The effects and music. Jetman is pretty solid in both its effects work and music, although it does lack the excellent tracking shots during the battle scenes that was ever present in Soda's series. I still highly enjoy what was done here. The fights have a lot of excellent choreography, with some of the highlights belonging to the battles that involve Gray and Guy. Speaking of Gray, there's a really great moment with him just standing there in the rain that is pretty badass.
Mario.
Not everything is perfect though, as there are times you can see the wires, especially on one moment when Ryu is just hanging around. For the music side of things, Kazuhiko Toyama's score kicks a lot of ass. The background music is quite solid, especially when you have tracks like this. And this. The opening and closing themes are sung by Kagayama Hironobu, which has an energetic, buoyant opening that will stick in your head forever. I watched this show for the first time over a decade ago, and it is always in my mind whenever I think about the show. Kokoro wa Tamago is the title of the ending theme, which is fine for what it is. I have no complaints as it does pull me out of the show like it is supposed to, even if it is a little too slow for my tastes. The episodes. Jetman has a lot of solid episodes, as it is very story driven compared to what came before it. That doesn't mean there isn't some filler between development, and sometimes that filler can be downright awful. There's one episode I hate that has the Rangers being sent back in time to the era of cavemen, which ends up degrading Raita's character a tad. It's an awful episode that doesn't make sense, and he befriends a cave woman that resembles Kari after getting out of a fake and bake tanning salon. It's not that good, yet it is not the worst episode of the series. Nope, that goes to the one titled Cup Noodle. Not only does it feature the soba noodle monster I mentioned earlier, but it has a really creepy shut-in college-age student who is in love with Akko. And obsesses over her so much that he names a soba product he and the monster create after her. It's downright disturbing. Granted, we do get this great line from Vyram out of it.
愚かな。それほどまでに人間どもは時間と手間が惜しいのか。
有効に使えてもいないくせに。
That one was almost worth it. Moving to my favorite episode, Spin the Roulette of Life. Spin the Roulette of Life is a great focused episode where Sniper Cat turns everyone except Guy into mini statues. Well, that battle's a bust. Gray also ends up losing a piece of his heart, so he challenges Guy to a game of roulette at the Casino Royale. I'm sorry, can you be any less subtle? My name is Yuki. Guy Yuki. Anyway, this episode is quite intense as you know the Rangers are going to be restored in the end. You just don't know how, and everything is filmed in a way that keeps you at the edge of your seat until its earth-shaking finale. You also have to feel bad for the employee who is running the game as she has to be wondering what the hell is going on. Well, either that or if she's gonna get paid. I would be way more concerned about wanting to get paid. This isn't the only good episode, as most of the show is compiled of them, with another standout involving Radagate stealing the souls of Akko, Raicho, and Guy, leaving them to be thought as of dead initially.
Akko! 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 Akko-san! Oh! Akko ga shinda!
Lastly, there is one episode where Ryu invades Virum's dimension to try and stop them from being able to teleport to Earth. The DVD! And I'm going to be reviewing Shout Factory's DVD release of Jetman. For the most part, the DVD is on par with the Japanese DVD as far as video and audio is concerned. The subtitles are quite good with accurate translations and in a white font that seems to be the preferred color. I only noticed one misspelling throughout the entire show, though there did seem to be 2 places where a line was missing. The biggest concern for this release comes with the video quality. For some reason, it appears as if the frame rate takes a major drop during scenes that have flashy effects over them, which is noticeable during scenes when blast attacks are made and transformations. Normally, it didn't bother me except during the big fight scene in episode 34 when there was a lot of effects used, so it felt like much of the entire battle was moving in slow motion. I have heard reports the Region 2 DVDs were like that, as this was something done because of epileptic seizure issues and bright lights, but of course it has to be like this in the one series I do not own on said DVD. I do know that this did not appear to be an issue with the fan subs, grown-ups, and spandex released, though I've been informed they used some sort of video filter to fix this. Unfortunately, there will be those that blame Shout Factory for this situation despite that not being the case, just so they can make an argument as to why their illegal, unofficial fan subs are superior to justify their reasoning for not buying this release. On that subject, should you buy the DVD then? Yes. I definitely think you should regardless. Not just because Shout can only provide what Toei gave them, but because the sales of this release may determine Shout's decision as to whether or not they deem fit to give us more pre-Jew Ranger related Sentai shows. Who knows? Maybe the next pre-Jew show they give us will be a double-volume Blu-ray release of Go Ranger if the sales of Jetman meet their needs. It may even nudge Toei to lower the price it would cost to license Kamen Rider, which is apparently the same price they charge for both Dragon Ball and One Piece. The possibilities are endless. We just need to let them know that we want that stuff released here. Overall, I adored Jetman. It was quite revolutionary for the franchise at the time, easily making it one of the best Super Sentai series of all time, despite its quirks. However, those flaws are pretty prominent, so I do have to give the show a 4 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. Nevertheless, these flaws are quite insignificant compared to the complete product. If you are a Sentai fan and you've never seen this show, you are doing yourself a complete disservice. Hopefully this is one Shout Factory will eventually release, and when they do, it is a must-buy. Until next time, bye.
いつまでもお嬢様気分じゃダメなんだよ。
お嬢様で悪うございました。私帰らせていただきます。ごきげんよう。
香織さん、どけ。
Now she's gonna go off and marry one of those worldly European guys for sure.
Those wealthy European royals are not good enough for Princess Buttonnose and her daddy.